Om Jnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 15, Texts 18 to 20, translation and commentary on the order of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, continuing his great work by certain of his servants. First of all, I'll give the translation to verses 18 and 19, and then the translation to verse 20. My dear king, other boys would sing enchanting songs appropriate to the occasion, and their hearts would melt out of love for the Lord. In this way, the Supreme Lord, whose soft lotus feet are personally attended by the goddess of fortune, concealed his transcendental opulences by his internal potency and acted like the son of a cowherd. Yet even while enjoying like a village boy in the company of other village residents, he often exhibited feats only God could perform. Then today's verse. Once some of the cowherd boys, Sridharma, the very close friend of Rama and Krishna, along with Subal, Stoka Krishna and others, lovingly spoke the following words. Purport. The word premna, with love, indicates that the request the cowherd boys are about to place before Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram is motivated by love, not personal desire. The cowherd boys were eager for Krishna and Balaram to exhibit their pastimes of killing demons and to enjoy the delicious fruits of the Tala forest, and therefore they made the following request. The request that the cowherd boys are about to give to Krishna, of course this happened many years ago, but we are transported in time to the scene in Vrindavan, and we are as if there in the present. So the request that they are about to make is, let's go to Talavan, which is full of tal fruits. Tal is palm fruit. You won't get in Ireland, at least won't grow here. Maybe you've seen green coconuts. So it looks something like that on the outside. You have to cut it open, and then inside there are different fruits. Comes in the summer season. It's very watery and refreshing. So the cowherd boys said, let's go there and enjoy those fruits. But there's Dhinuka, a great demon in the form of an ass, is there, and with all his friends. He doesn't let anyone come. So we'll have to deal with them first. Now, the commentators describe here that the cowherd boy friends said this with love, because actually they wanted, the idea is that they wanted Krishna and Balaram to enjoy those fruits, because they're pure devotees. They don't think of their own sensual enjoyment. But if they had said, why don't you go there and enjoy the fruits, then Krishna and Balaram wouldn't be so inspired to do so. But they said, we want to enjoy the fruits. So then they knew that Krishna, let's all enjoy them together. And then they thought that Krishna and Balaram would be actually inspired, because Krishna and Balaram act for the pleasure of their devotees. This is the commentary that the acharyas give. Now, skeptics may say that this is sophistry. You're just trying to explain away. The boys were just boys and they wanted to eat some fruit, and what's all this about? You're trying to twist it around and make some kind of psychological, convoluted explanation to try to show that they were, even in such a situation, they were only thinking of Krishna's pleasure. But actually that is the fact. It is said here, premna, with love. Of course you may lovingly want to share something with Krishna, but pure devotees, they don't want to share, they want to give everything to Krishna. So in the, just 2 verses previous to this, there are the words, sneha klin dhya. Their hearts were melted with love for Krishna. So this is the actual situation. There will be in our present state, we can hardly imagine such love because we're so much concerned with our own needs, or rather what we think are our own needs in terms of our body, senses, mind, ego. But pure love of Krishna, therein is no such consideration, only the consideration how Krishna is satisfied. This is a fact. This is the situation of the spiritual world. This is the actual position of reality. Reality is not as we perceive it, this, in Darwinian terms, the struggle for existence, but the struggle for sensual enjoyment, putting oneself first, but this is not at all reality. It simply creates suffering one after another for those who participate in it. Reality is Krishna, and pure love of Krishna is exhibited by the pure devotees whose really their only thought is for the pleasure of Krishna. And they take various roles in Krishna's pastimes, sometimes apparently contradictory to that ideal. Because in Vrindavan especially, the pure devotees of Krishna are not cringing sycophants who are in great awe of Krishna. They may sometimes act in a manner in which they appear to be contrary to Krishna, but actually their motive is only to serve Krishna and please him in all respects, because their heart is so full of pure love. This is the meaning of the word prem, which is stated here in a prema, in a modified form, premna, with love. And that is the ultimate goal of life, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached, premo pumarto mahan, the highest achievement for every person is prema, pure love of Krishna. So, as followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we are to pursue that. What is our ultimate goal? Why are we doing that, or what are we doing in this Hare Krishna movement? There could be various reasons for that. We could say, well, we just want to please our spiritual master. We want to please Krishna. We want to go back to Godhead. We want to have a comfortable place to live. I don't think that's applicable so much here, but it might be in other centers of the Hare Krishna movement. So we are to, that is our ultimate goal, can be stated as pure love of Krishna. We are to pursue that above all other goals, and in fact, not even above all other goals, but that is the only goal, because we can't have pure, unalloyed devotion if there is any other goal. That is the meaning of Kevala Bhakti, only Bhakti. Shri Guru Charana Padma, Kevala Bhakti Sadhana. The Guru is prayed to as his lotus feet are the abode of pure devotion, unalloyed. Srila Prabhupada would use this term. Absolutely pure, complete 24-karat gold. Maybe, I don't know if we have any gold experts here, but maybe 24-karat has some slight admixture or something. But the idea is that nothing else, because if there's any other goal, any other desire, then it's not pure devotion. And that pure devotion, which is the requisite for entering the spiritual world, it by definition, it cannot exist in the heart of someone who has any other goals or desires. So that is what we are here for. We are hearing about these pastimes. They're very pleasing to hear. Shrinu sukhadam shubhadam bhavasaram. They bestow great happiness and auspiciousness within this world of where the essence is simply birth and death, but also with the idea that we are to be inspired to follow in the footsteps of devotees like Sridhama and Subal, Stoka Krishna, and others. We're to follow in their footsteps. in developing pure love of Krishna. So that's what we're here for. But as we experience, we can be distracted also, even in the pursuit of pure love of Krishna. The nature of this material world is to distract us. Well, first of all, to cover us. Yaya samohito jiva atmanam trigunatmaka. This is the description of Maya by the three modes. She covers the consciousness of the living being. So he is completely unaware that he is meant to be in the service of Krishna. That's called avaranatmika vritti, the covering potency of Maya. And if anyone tries to get out of Maya, then comes the prakshepatmika vritti, the throwing back potency in various ways. Maya tries to disturb us from our resolve to be purely Krishna conscious. So he may be disturbed in so many ways by, for instance, family affairs, or for those who are not married, thinking about family affairs. Well, maybe I should have some family affairs to get distracted by like everyone else. Even in practicing Krishna consciousness, we can sometimes get so absorbed in it that in the procedures of it, that we become distracted from the goal of pure devotional service. Rupa Goswami gives examples of this. In the course of practicing Krishna consciousness, we can have atyahara, eating too much. We may think, well, prasad is purifying, so I need a lot of purification. Okay, here we go. Bring out the 20 kilos of rice, that's for starters, and let's get purified. But that's a misunderstanding. Or overly collecting. Atyahara may also mean overly collecting. That in the name of yukta vairagya, we have to have the best computer and the best car and the best everything else. But the motive is not, it may be not completely pure. I may have the idea, okay, I'll get a computer, I'll make some graphics, advertising our festivals, I'll make some recordings of the festival, and so many things we can do with a laptop computer, but we can get just absorbed in that and all the different programs and things we can do with it. And although we can use it for Krishna service, we actually become distracted by the computerness of the computer, and we become computer conscious more than Krishna conscious. So that's an example. Even in management, we can get so absorbed in management, even though we're managing for Krishna, we become so... we've seen devotees that become so absorbed in this, and they think up different sophisticated management systems, and they think they have to manage so much, and they managing, and reducing their sadhana, and then forgetting the goal of life, which is Krishna, love of Krishna. Even in preaching, we can become so much absorbed. We have to go here, we have to do that, make this arrangement, that arrangement. And then we may start to think of ourselves as a great preacher, or we become so concerned with somehow or other trying to bring people in that we forget we have to teach them about Krishna and start to teach them about all kinds of other things which have very little direct relationship with Krishna, and we become diverted from the goal. Even in book distribution, that activity most pleasing to Srila Prabhupada, if we're simply thinking, let me get out the books somehow or other, but we don't remember why that we ourselves have to develop love of Krishna, and we're here to please Krishna, then we can become diverted also from the actual goal, which is love of Krishna. Therefore, daily sadhana is important, and the consciousness that sadhana is supposed to lead to siddhi. This is well known in Indian spiritual circles. There's the state of sadhana, sadhana dasha, and the state of siddhi, where one achieves perfection. There's the aspirant for perfection in whatever discipline it might be. It might be yoga or tantra or whatever it may be, and of course in bhakti also. And there's the siddha, one who has actually attained perfection. So we're not to be distracted. Srila Prabhupada warned about this. One possible distraction also is prajalpa, talking unnecessarily. That comes in atyahara prayasascha. I was going through those 6. Prayas means to make endeavors which are really quite beyond our capacity. We don't have the means to fulfill them, and then we become involved in some huge project which overstrains us, and what's the point if we become so much overstrained and we forget that our real goal of life is to have love of God, not to have big buildings, although big buildings may be used in Krishna's service. Lolyam, greed, similar thing, the accumulation of objects. We have accumulate so many things which we don't really need, all in the name of serving Krishna. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpa. Then talking unnecessarily. It may even be in the sphere of Krishna consciousness. Just like, for instance, within this movement, various problems have arisen, are present, and will arise, and we just can't ignore them and pretend they don't exist. We have to discuss them, and we may discuss the protagonists, but if we become just too much absorbed in that, that also becomes one form of unnecessary talking. Or we may have to be conscious of the world around us. For instance, last time I was in Northern Ireland, the Queen had just visited, the Queen of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, officially, although not everyone in Northern Ireland is very happy with that, but she had just visited, and it would have been wise for the devotees to have known she was coming so they could go and do Harinam Sankirtan, for instance, in the areas where big crowds were expected to greet her. So I'm just giving that as an example of how it's wise for devotees to be somewhat aware of what's going on in the world, although there's no need for them to become so absorbed, and this becomes a form of prajalpa. Niyamagraha, in the practice of devotional service, we may follow the rules and regulations which are meant for developing love of God, but if we become attached to the rules just for their own sake, that I'm following so well, others are not following so well, and then we don't advance our Krishna consciousness. We go backwards because we become more rule conscious than Krishna conscious. Or if we think, well, I'm already Krishna conscious, I don't need to follow all these rules, then we don't become Krishna conscious because the rules and regulations are meant to facilitate development of Krishna consciousness. Then Janasanga, associating with non-devotees. So all of these, even for devotees who are practicing Krishna consciousness, if they become entangled in any of these 6 activities, Janasangas chalolyamcha. A Janasanga can also mean, apart from directly making friendship with non-devotees, becoming eager to read books written by them, or newspapers, or magazines, or watching TV. This is all bad association. So if we try to combine that with our Krishna consciousness, it doesn't work. It destroys it. In this, or sometimes, Srila Prabhupada, he wrote a letter in which the following quotation warns about forgetting the goal of life, which is to develop pure love of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada wrote, sometimes there is a tendency to neglect our real purpose of life, namely, to become mad after Krishna. And instead, we become carried away by big talk. So I'm not sure exactly what the context was, But the idea is that we become diverted, big talk, maybe big plans to do this and that or whatever. But Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing the point that our real goal of life is to develop pure love of Godhead, following in the footsteps of the residents of Vrindavan, like Sudama, Stoka Krishna, Subal. And of course the most famous, most celebrated Gopis of Vrindavan. Just recently in Croatia, I was asked a question in the public meeting. That means the after one or during a question and answer session with many devotees present. That should we aspire to become a gopi in the spiritual world? Well, first you might ask the question, well, is it possible for us to become a gopi in the spiritual world if we consider our present situation? Well, certainly it is. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to present that opportunity. Anarpita chiring chirat karunyavatirno kalau samapiyatam unatajvala rasasva bhakti shriyam. Even though this great opportunity had not been offered for a very long time previously, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and preached about the topmost resplendent, loving relationship with himself, that is particularly, as he also preached, that Ramyaka Chidupasana Vrajavatu Vargena Ya Kalpita, that the topmost form of worship of Krishna is that conceived of by the gopis of Vrindavan. So should we aspire for that? The answer is yes, but it's a qualified yes. First of all, I'll give an idea of the yes. We should aspire for that. Srila Narottam Das Thakur wrote several songs in which he expresses his desire to be born as a gopi in Vrindavan. Also Bhaktivinoda Thakur did, and I'll just read two of the songs of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, among several others, in which he expresses his desire to attain the form of a gopi. So here's one of them. These two songs which I'll read are from the collection Sharanagati, in the process of taking shelter. So he prays or meditates. Dekite dekite bhule boba kabe nijus thula parichoy. I'm going on with my life, but he's considering that when I will just completely forget what I consider to be my own present identity, this mundane, gross identity, and instead, Nayane Haribo Brajapura Shobha Nitta Chidanandamaya, and said with these very eyes, I will see the beauty of the land of Vrindavan, the city of Vrindavan, which is eternal and composed of spiritual bliss. Vrishabhanu Pure Janama Loibo. I will take birth in the city of Vrishabhanu, that means the father of Vrindavan. Jabati Bibaha Hobi, and my wedding, she will be married. She, note, she'll be married in Jabot, the other village of the Brajamandal area. Braja Gopi Bhav Hoibe Shobhav Ano Bhav Narohibe. I will be full of the feelings of a gopi. That will be my actual nature, and any other nature that I conceive of, just like the one I have now or the ones I may have had in many millions of births, that will not remain at all. Nija Siddha Deha Nija Siddha Nam Nija Rupa Shabashan. My own perfect form, Siddha Deha, my own real name, perfect name, and my own form and clothing. Radha Kripa Bale Labhi Boba Kabe. When will I attain all these? By the mercy of Radha, Krishna Prema Prakaran, all in the ambit of Krishna Prem, love of Krishna. That's the whole central point. Jamuna Shalila Aharane Gia Bujibo Jugala Rosh. And then he's contemplating, he, she, that as a young married girl of Vrindavan going to collect water from the Yamunas, suddenly he is struck with the realization of the loving feelings between Radha and Krishna. And then Prema Mugdha Hoye Pagalini Prai Gaibo Radhar Josh. And then being bewildered, overcome by loving feelings, just like a mad woman, he sings, I will sing the glories of Radha. So that is one song. And then the next song in this series, he sings Vrishabhanu Sutta Charana Shebane. Actually, I mean, of course, these songs are very deep. I'm just giving a surface translation. I actually gave a lecture on the one that for about half an hour on getting into some points of this one, which I just went through. So the next one, Vrishabhanu Sutta Charana Shebane Hoibo Jaypalo Dashi. I will be that kind of protected maidservant, means under the guidance of another Gopi, in the service of the lotus feet of the daughter of Vrishabhanu, namely Radharani. Shri Radhar Shuk Shatata Shadane Rahibo Ami Prayashi. I will always remain endeavoring for the happiness of Radha. Shri Radhar Shuke Krishna Jai Shuk Janibo Monete Ami. Knowing within my mind that the happiness of Radha is the happiness of Krishna. Krishna becomes happy by seeing Radha happy. Radha Pada Chari Shri Krishna Sangame Kabuna Hoibo Kami. Knowing this, I will never desire to directly relate with Krishna, giving up Radha's lotus feet. Shaki Garna Mama Parama Shuhrit Jugala Premera Guru. My own, she's a Paladasi, so has a personal Shaki, associate of Radharani, who is protecting her, and as his very best well-wisher, and is the teacher in the matters of the love between Radha and Krishna. Tad anugahoye, being the follower of her, anuga is in the female form. Shivibo Radha Charana Kalapatoru. And in that position, I will serve the feet of Radha, which are like a wish-fulfilling tree. Radha Pokachari Jajan Shejan Jaybabe Shebhabe Take Amito Radhika Pokapati Shada Kobunahi Heritake. Any person, whoever they may be, in whatever state they may be or exist, if they give up the camp of Radha, because it's understood that in the Vrindavan pastimes there are those in Krishna's camp and those in Radha's camp. So whoever they may be, if they give up the camp of Radha, because I am always in the camp of Radha, I'm always inclined to, I'm always biased to, you could say, Radhika, then I will not even see such a person. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he is giving the idea here of what it means to give up, just come out of this present mundane situation and become a gopi in the spiritual world. Here we're reading about the gopas, the cowherd boys. Now, these two songs which I just read are from Sharanagati. The songs of Sharanagati, this collection of songs, within them there are also many which state what Bhaktivinoda Thakur considers to be his present situation, which is quite a different story altogether. I'll read the first of those. It's under the heading of Dainya, or humility. Tatrado Dainyatmak Nivedan. Next he says there will be a submission of utter humility and helplessness. So he sings, Bhuliya Tomare, forgetting you, Krishna, Shangshare Ashaya, Peye Nana Bidha Beta. I have come to this material world and attained many different kinds of pain and suffering. Tomara Charane Ashiachi Ami, Bolebo Dukhera Kota. So I have come now to your lotus feet, and I will tell you the sad, suffering-filled story of my life. Janani Jartare, Chilama Jakam, Bishama Bandhana Pashe. When I was within the womb of the mother, being tightly tied up by the ropes of, well, it literally means imprisonment, but can be understood that, well, in one way you're trapped in the womb of your mother, another way completely trapped in the world of birth and death. Ek bar Prabhu dekha diya more, banchilo edino dashe. One time, Prabhu, Master, Lord, Krishna, you showed yourself to me, but then to this lowly servant, you as if cheated me. You went away. I didn't see you again. Tokana bhavinu janama paya karibu bhajana tava. At that time, I considered, I decided that when I actually get born, I will perform your bhajan, I will perform devotional service to you. But janama hoilo parimaya jale na hoilo jnana lava. But when I actually took birth, I fell into the net of Maya, and not even a drop of remembrance of that remained. Adorer chele, shojane kole, hashia katanu kal. Becoming the object of a young baby boy, the object of the affection of the relatives, and being placed on their lap, and this way I was smiling and laughing and passing my time. And Janaka Janani Snehete Bhuliya Shangshara Lagelo Bhalo. So in the care and protection of the mother, the affection of the mother and father, I forgot all about Krishna, and I started to think that, well, actually material life, it's very nice. And the story goes on. Krame din din, balaka hoya, kelino balaka shaha. Gradually, day after day, gradually day by day, I became a young boy, not just a baby, and I would play with other boys. Ar kitchudine, jnana upajilo, partha pare aharaha. Then after a little more time, my knowledge became a little worldly wise, that arose, and I took up studies day and night. Biddhara gaurabe brahmi deshe deshe. Dhana uparjana kari. This is actually a description of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's actual life, inasmuch as he says that, at least from the external point of view, that being proud of the knowledge that I had attained, I traveled from country to country for the sake of attaining wealth. So when I say it's story of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life, I'm not saying he became proud by knowledge, but he actually became very learned and had different governmental postings in many places. He was transferred many times. So swajana palan kari ek mone bhulino tomare hari. In the concentration of becoming absorbed and focusing on maintaining my family, I forgot you, Hari. Badoke Eko, now in my old age, Bhakti Vinod, Kandya, Katora Oti. Now in my old age, I'm weeping and wailing in the old age. So, Na bhajia tore, dinna brita gelo, ekone ki hobe goti. Having not worshipped you, my days have gone past uselessly. Now what will be my destination? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives many songs like this within the Sharanagati series. Just some excerpts. Amar jiban shada pape rata nahika punyara lesh. In my life, I've always been attached to sinful activities. There's not even a trace of any piety. And there's many such songs. Hari Hey, Shunomo Dukher Kahini. Oh Lord, hear my story of distress. Emana Durmati Shangshara Bitare Parya Achinuami. I am such a wicked person as myself within the I've fallen within this material world. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, on the one hand, he's giving songs speaking of his attaining the position of a gopi in the spiritual world. At the same time, he speaks as if a conditioned soul, which who is in Maya, forgetting Krishna, passing his days without remembering Krishna. Sinfully he considers himself. So we can consider which of these two positions most applies to us. What are we meditating on? Are we meditating upon how to please Krishna? Or are we distracted by so many other desires, attachments, misconceptions, absorption in our present worldly situation? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, by painting a picture of what he in his humility considers to be his present fallen condition, and also with the great hope of the possibility or the reality of being able to enter into the spiritual world and serve Radha and Krishna directly, he gives us hope. Even though we're not Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but we're not any, at least certainly I can state for myself, and definitely in the whole material world, it's very extremely rare to find a devotee on the level of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But he does give us that hope, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us that hope. We have a long, long way to go that we should consider. But we should also consider that the journey is worth making. And in fact, apart from going back home, back to Godhead to serve Radha and Krishna, as a gopi or as a gopa as described in this verse, or as a blade of grass, Uddhava and Lord Brahma, such great personalities, they considered that if they could become a blade of grass in Vrindavan, they would be fulfilled. What to speak of becoming a gopi. So we have a long way to go, but the journey is worth making, and in fact, apart from this, there's nothing else worth doing in the material world. Everything else is completely futile, even just to get liberated from this material world without developing that pure love for Krishna. It's just kaivalya narakayate. It's just like, might as well go to hell. It's as meaningless as that. So it's a long way to go. We have many material attachments to overcome. We have many impurities to overcome. But we have good and competent helpers also. And Srila Prabhupada, he set up this movement to introduce us via himself to so many helpers on the path back to Godhead and to give facilities to everyone to go back to Godhead. The worship of the deity in the temple is an opportunity to directly serve Krishna. Of course, we understand that we're doing so by the mercy of our gurus, that we are not actually qualified to do so directly, but on the other hand, we are given that opportunity to dress Krishna, cook for Krishna, clean for Krishna, manage for Krishna, so many different services. And even though we may have a long way to go, it's seen that devotees have dedicated their life in the service of Krishna. From our perspective, they're neophyte or madhyam or topmost, and generally the number of neophytes seems to be more than those of topmost devotees. But definitely we see that devotees make progress. The progress is visible. The devotees are in a different category to persons who have no Krishna consciousness. Devotees are exalted persons. We have examples of devotees very steadily serving for years and years and years, both here and in Belfast. They're pujaris who, through all the vicissitudes and ups and downs, and mostly downs if we consider in terms of the way things are going on, they've stuck steadily to their service over decades. Why is that? Is that not a sign that, of course we don't know what's in anyone's heart, but it's not a common thing that someone will stick to such a service for year after year after year after year. So we see that on this plane, love of Krishna is possible and can develop, does develop, and that can only fructify more and more as long as we avoid making offenses. So we're all on a journey back to home, back to Godhead, to join Krishna and the residents of Vrindavan in the spiritual world. Or maybe some will go to Vaikuntha, some will go to Ayodhya, some will go to Dwarka, but we're all meant for going to the spiritual world. I was talking about devotees who serve for many decades. Today, Bhakta Dado, is that how it's pronounced? Yeah, he's having his first full day here, and he's come from Croatia on my suggestion to dedicate himself here. So we have long-timers and new-timers. Of course, he's been practicing Krishna consciousness for many years, but I think it's the first time living in a temple. So we can welcome him, and we can all work together to help each other on the path back to Godhead. It's not an easy path, but we have very good helpers, and apart from the helpers, our gurus, and Srila Prabhupada, and all the previous acharyas, and Krishna himself, we also can look to the other devotees for help and try to help others in whatever capacity we may be in the gutter, but we should be looking up at the stars, to paraphrase an Irish poet. That we are meant for this, whatever nasty things may be in our hearts. We can hear about the pastimes of Krishna with his loving devotees in Vrindavan and become purified and aspire to join them, and actually by their mercy become qualified to do so. Hare Krishna. Any question about this, please? Yeah, you have a question.
Many years ago, I asked you a question about desire, and you said to me, first deserve and then desire.
First deserve, then desire. Yes, actually when this question was asked in Croatia, I said, yes, we should aspire to become a Gopi in the spiritual world, but remember Prabhupada's words, first deserve, then desire. Srila Prabhupada said that. Do you know the context? There was a group. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada's translation of Chaitanya Charitamrita had just been published in full, and some devotees became inspired by the message therein of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's giving pure love of God in the wake of the gopis of Vrindavan, and they started to exclusively culture that, reading only those parts of Srila Prabhupada's books. There were no other books available in those days, which dealt with Gopi Leelas. And Srila Prabhupada was very upset at this, and among other things, he said, first deserve, then desire. That one should, the meaning is clear, that one should come to that level before one cultivates some specific idea to be a gopi. Srila Prabhupada also said in this regard that those who are talking about becoming gopis, when they're not qualified, they're thinking about that more and more, about the pastimes, the sexual pastimes between Krishna and Radha. When we say the word sex, we think of something abominable, but actually sex is the most glorious thing. That is the loving dealings between Krishna and Radha. But that's on a completely different platform. So Srila Prabhupada said in this regard that what will happen, the actual result of these devotees concentrating on that, will be abortions. He gave a stern warning. So, yeah.
So, I just wanted to understand, does that mean then that if one is at the stage, for a pure devotee, he's desire less, and just we were talking in the beginning of the class as well about how the cowherd boys, they didn't want the fruits for themselves. So then what I was wondering, the question I had was, why do we have particular desires for particular service? And is that another form of my...
A pure devotee is desireless, means he has only a desire to serve Krishna. Why does one devotee desire to serve Krishna in one way and another in another way? Because Krishna likes to be served in different ways. If everyone was a gopi and there were no cows, then how could they be gopis, for instance? And then you'd have to get some plastic cow like that one in the garden out there and have some artificial milk. They're real gopis with real cows and real milk and real grass, and all the roles are taken by different devotees. And they all give pleasure to Krishna. That's called Swarasiki Siddhi, that a devotee has his own particular mood in serving Krishna and is fully satisfied in that. It's not stereotyped. Everyone is an individual.
So that's natural in
It's natural. It's natural for the living being to have desire. Yeah. Desireless means we're like a stone. Then you have to go to the impersonal Brahman. But that's not pleasing to Krishna if we go to the impersonal Brahman. So everyone has different desires and accordingly different services, different ways to relate to Krishna. Very difficult for us to conceive of, isn't it? Being stuck in this world of birth and death. But for us, desire is concomitant with non-Krishna consciousness, but pure desire is the desire to please Krishna. That's real desire. So we have to cultivate that. Another important point is that if someone is developing actually this pure desire, is come to that stage, he generally doesn't talk much about it. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote in songs, but he didn't go around giving public lectures. Well, actually, I'm a gopi in the spiritual world. He didn't do that. So such matters are to be kept privately, as Srila Prabhupada quoted, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur often quoted from Narottam Das Thakur's, where's that? Prem Bhakti Chandrika, I believe, just at the end, and toward the end, that Apana Bhajana Kata Na Kohibo Jota Tato E Bhakti Paramakara. He said that what I'm doing in devotional service and my experiences there, it's not for just discussing here and there. It's not like market talk. You go in in traditional societies, you go in the market and you meet people and you gossip about this and that. It's not meant for that. It's a very private thing. Hare Krishna. Anything else? All right. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.